All right, let's dive into a topic that, honestly, affects millions. We're talking about a super common, really powerful antibiotic that, for some people, comes with a price that is just devastating and life-altering. Let's get right into it.
So let me just ask you this, right off the bat. Have you ever thought, even for a second, that a simple pill for a routine infection could potentially lead to a permanent, disabling condition? Well, for a growing number of people, that is not a hypothetical question at all. It is their reality, and their story often starts with one of the most frequently prescribed medications in the entire world.
We're talking about ciprofloxacin. It's part of a class of antibiotics called fluoroquinolones. Now, these are go-to powerful drugs, often prescribed for everyday things like a UTI or a sinus infection. But here's the thing, their power comes with a really dangerous hidden paradox.
You see, the way this drug works is so intense that it doesn't just kill bacteria. It can actually harm our very own human cells. And when that damage gets severe and spreads, it can lead to a condition that the FDA now officially recognizes. It's called Fluoroquinolone-Associated Disability, or FQAD for short.
And we are not talking about some minor side effects here. The FDA's warnings are literally the most serious they can issue. They're called Black Box Warnings, and they are reserved for drugs that carry risks of severe injury or even death. We're talking about everything from tendons just spontaneously rupturing to permanent nerve damage and even life-threatening aortic aneurysms.
So the big question is, how on earth does an antibiotic do this? Well, this isn't a simple allergic reaction. No, it's more like a full-on chemical assault on the body. And it all starts at the most fundamental level you can imagine, your cell's ability to make energy.
So inside pretty much every single cell in your body, you've got these tiny little engines called mitochondria. You can just think of them as microscopic power plants. Their entire job, all day long, is to crank out the energy that powers you, your thoughts, your movements, your healing, everything.
This chart here shows the just devastating chain reaction. See, Cipro is designed to go after bacterial DNA. The problem is, it gets confused. It can't tell the difference between that and the DNA inside our own mitochondria. So it attacks them, crippling the cell's ability to make energy. And this causes a massive energy shortage and, at the same time, floods the body with these damaging things called free radicals, which are basically like tiny little wrecking balls bouncing around inside your cells, causing chaos.
This quote just nails it. The absolute crushing fatigue that people with FNM-QAD experience, it's not just feeling tired. It's a body-wide power outage happening at the cellular level. But the attack doesn't stop with your cellular power plants. Oh no, not even close. From this energy crisis, the damage begins to cascade, escalating into an assault on the very framework of your body.
Ciprofloxacin can actually trigger enzymes that just dissolve your collagen. And collagen is the essential protein that acts like the glue holding your tendons, cartilage, and even your major blood vessels together. This is exactly why the FDA has those stark warnings about spontaneous tendon ruptures and life-threatening aortic aneurysms. The body's scaffolding is literally being weakened from the inside out.
And then you have what it does to the brain. This drug can cross into your brain and block something called GABA, which is your brain's primary chill out or calm down signal. This is why people can suddenly be hit with severe anxiety, terrifying panic attacks, and insomnia. The analogy is perfect. It's literally like someone just cut the brake lines on your central nervous system.
And if all of that wasn't enough, Cipro is also waging a war on multiple other fronts at the exact same time. It strips your body of essential minerals like magnesium, it can trigger harmful genetic changes tied to inflammation, and it can absolutely devastate your gut microbiome. It's really a multi-system attack happening all at once.
Okay, now we get to one of the most frightening and frankly confusing parts of this whole thing. The damage isn't always immediate. The real crisis can be like a ticking time bomb.
Just look at this timeline. It's so important to understand. Someone might finish their prescription, feel totally fine, and think they're in the clear. And then, weeks, sometimes even a month or more later, the delayed bomb goes off. A sudden collapse with body-wide pain, nerve issues, and that crushing fatigue. This delay makes it so difficult for both patients and their doctors to connect the dots back to the antibiotic they took weeks ago.
So this naturally leads to the question, are you at risk? Who is most likely to experience this terrible reaction? While it really can happen to anyone, there are certain factors that can dramatically, and I mean dramatically, increase the odds. Let's see what the data shows.
Okay, so just start with the baseline risk. Simply taking a fluoroquinolone antibiotic increases your risk of an Achilles tendon rupture by more than 4 times compared to other antibiotics. So that's your starting point. It's already riskier.
But now, look what happens when you combine it with a super common steroid, something like prednisone. The risk doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Your risk of a tendon rupture skyrockets by a staggering 46 times. I mean, that is just a massive, potentially devastating drug interaction that so many people are not aware of.
Some other major risk factors to be aware of include being over 60, having any kind of kidney issue, being deficient in magnesium, and even just being male, who have a 3 times higher rate of tendon rupture. And of course, this is a big one, if you've had a bad reaction once, you are at an extremely high risk for an even more severe reaction if you ever take one again.
Okay, I know that was a ton of heavy, pretty scary information. But listen, the whole point of this is not to cause fear. It's to arm you with knowledge. So let's shift gears now and talk about the practical, actionable steps you can take to protect yourself. First things first, the critical do's. If you even suspect you're having a reaction, the most important thing you can do is stop taking the drug immediately and call your doctor. Complete rest isn't just a suggestion. It's absolutely essential to protect your tendons from rupturing, and so important, you must get this reaction documented as a permanent allergy or sensitivity in your medical records for life.
And the don'ts are every bit as crucial. Seriously, never ever take another fluoroquinolone again. Re-exposure can be absolutely catastrophic. Avoid any kind of strenuous exercise for months because your tendons can rupture long after you've stopped the pill. And try to avoid NSAIDs like ibuprofen, which some studies suggest can actually make the damage worse. What you don't do is just as important as what you do.
I know it can be incredibly hard to advocate for yourself in a doctor's office, especially when you feel awful. So here's a simple, clear, and powerful script you can literally use. State the timeline of your symptoms, directly reference the official FDA Black Box Warnings, and insist, politely but firmly, on getting it documented permanently. This gives you a clear, factual foundation for your concerns that is very difficult for anyone to dismiss.
And that brings us full circle, really, to the final critical question. Look, these drugs can absolutely be lifesavers for very serious, life-threatening infections, no question. But for the routine ones, the simple ones, where safer alternatives often exist, you now have the information to ask your doctor, and maybe more importantly, to ask yourself, is this a risk worth taking?